So now it's my pleasure to introduce the moderator for our session, Kelly Flagg. Kelly was born and raised in Wiscasset, Maine, and she greatly enjoys traveling and seeing what the world has to offer for adventures. She has always lived right here in Maine. She graduated from the University of Southern Maine with a bachelor's degree in sports medicine with a concentration in health and fitness and a minor in business. She has been a leader and an entrepreneur from the very start and has taken every business or public speaking class she possibly could throughout her education and career. She has a depth of professional experiences and that include general management and financial growth of several small businesses, including ownership of a small family-owned and operated landscape construction firm from 2003 through 2011. This led her to the construction industry in 2011 as the Safety and Human Resources Manager for CCB Construction, where she became truly passionate about employee development and training. Over the last 10 years, she has continued to hone her skills as a public speaker, leadership development trainer, and manager. She recently joined AGC Maine as the executive director and is honored to be serving as AGC member companies and the Maine construction industry. Welcome.
These guys do. I'm going to ask them questions as part of our presentation. All right. Well, thank you, Amanda. I'm going to hang out up here for a minute because I'm going to have to play with the clicker. You guys can hang out over there. Thank you for that wonderful introduction. I realized, as she says, I recently joined AGC, that maybe it's time to update my bio. It's now been 3 years, but time flies when you're having fun doing cool stuff. So I'm going to start out by sharing an update to a presentation that we did last year. Who stayed until the second day after lunch last year? Okay, about half of you. For the rest of you, this will be a new story. For the rest of you, I'm going to kind of just give some updates to what we talked about last year. So when I joined AGC Maine in July of 2022, my first mission was to go out to the construction industry, our members, and ask them, what is your number one challenge? Right. So for those of you who are not familiar with AGC Maine and what we do, we support the construction industry in advocacy efforts through networking events and workforce development. And the number one thing company owners told me was we could do more work if we had more people. So what they were saying to me was there's work to be done. There are roads and bridges to be built. There are power projects to be built. There are buildings to be built, but we don't have the people to build them. And you all probably feel that as you design and manage projects. So a couple of notes on the challenges, and these metrics actually need to be updated this year. I just got some new ones, but from 2017 to 2022, construction made up just under 50% of the job growth in the state of Maine. 41.8% of our job growth was construction. So that's part of where this challenge is, right? It's not that our construction industry is shrinking, it's the construction industry is growing faster than we're able to train people to take those jobs. It's actually growing faster in Maine than it is in the rest of the country. So now add in the fact that we know, I sat in this very room probably 12 or 13 years ago and heard a presentation about how we were going to be in serious need of craft workers right about today, right? So we knew this was coming. This is not a surprise, but people are retiring. So the industry is growing, the need for workers is growing, and people are retiring. That creates a problem. So we set out to create a program that would attack this in 3 ways. So first, developing the skills of the current workforce. So you all know, I love that we're here to talk about innovation, right? What are the new things that our existing workforce needs to know, and how do we train them and prepare them for the jobs of today and tomorrow, which might be slightly different, right? If we think about autonomous operation of equipment, that is not something that 10 years ago anyone was really talking about. Or we talk about the new technologies that you're learning about yesterday and today. We have to train people about how to utilize these. The other was to engage those who were ready for a career in construction but didn't even know that opportunity existed, And then the third is to talk to the next generation. We're going to focus mostly today on the next generation who are sitting right here with us and have some stories to tell. So I'm going to be real quick with my presentation so that we can get to the juicy part, which is the personal stories, which is what I really love. But we designed a program to spark interest. That was the whole point of our program, not to train people how to do the jobs, not to train people in every aspect of what they're going to be doing, but to show them what's available, to show them what I call behind the fence and get them interested in things. And so, first of all, every photo in this slideshow is a real photo from our programs. So I did not steal any of these from the internet. I'm so proud of that. Really quickly, each program is 4 weeks long. It is not offered at our office in Augusta. Kevin and I were just talking about that. I will not be building a giant training center and inviting the whole state to come join me in the central area. We will be going into every single community and offering programming where people live, where people work to support the companies that are in that local area. So today you're going to hear from our Brewer program. And that's a really important component. We're also always partnered with an education facility or an education partner. So that might be a high school, might be a career and technical education center, might be a community college. It really depends on the local area and what the need is, but there's always a host partner. And then we spend 20 days with our students. It is immersive. And when I say that, I mean, this is the thing you're doing for 20 days, 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. The students do get paid. And the idea is that it's going to lead to an apprenticeship at the completion. So I love this slide, and I got to add a section because we have another year under our belts here. But this is so much fun. Kevin, who you're going to hear from in a minute, Kevin's the ELO coordinator for Brewer High School, was one of our original partners in 2023. See that number, that little tiny 4 up at the top of the screen? We piloted 4 programs. We thought we really knew what we were doing. We did not. Kevin can share that if he wants to. But we had 104 students apply. We selected 50. We had a 99% completion rate that first year. But keep in mind, guys, we had a really small sample size. We still offered or issued 213 certificates in 13 different crafts. And at that time, we had 12 employers involved. 12 was a huge number at that time. When I stepped into the role here at AGC, we had 3 employer partners that offered apprenticeship. 3. And only 1 that actually had a registered apprentice at all. So we grew quite a bit in 2024. I'm just going to say straight up, I don't recommend doing that. That 4 times the size in 1 year thing's not smart. We survived though, and I really want to fast forward to 2025. This year we have offered to date, and I say to date because programming never ends now. We've offered 19 programs. We had 445 applicants so far, and we have trained 206 students. We are still running a 96% completion rate. So why does that matter? What that tells me is that what we're doing is engaging students. And I want to make a point here. These are not students who like school. Like most of our students are students who do not prefer to be in a classroom. And so Kevin can talk a little bit more about how that works and what he's seeing. But we now have 16, actually 17, because I added one last week, 17 different pathways for students to choose from and 32 employers involved. This is our list of locations that we offered for 2025. We will be selecting 2026 locations in the next month. This is the other thing that's really important. When I say we go into the communities where people work and live, I mean we go into the communities where people work and live. Somebody asked me the first year when we had 4 programs, will you go to Aroostook County? Most of the time, apparently people say no to that question. I was like, yeah, sure. And so I drove up to Aroostook County and I parked myself in a hotel and I met every single contractor and I met with the schools and we figured out how to get it done. So both in 2024 and 2025, we had programs in Holton and Caribou. So what are we going to do as we move forward? What does this look like? What's the vision? There's really 3 target populations that we're looking to serve. One is youth. That's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to continue youth programming into the future. We have funding for, we just received a grant from Northern Border Regional Commission. So we will be continuing that work at least through the end of 2028 at this point. Our secondary focus is young adults. We just partnered with the community college system. The program will be in 5 of the 7 community colleges next year. And then we are doing some programming with work reentry for the Maine State Prison reentry system. So we have a program that provides wraparound supports, provides transportation for those who are on work release and are on probation. And we have a group of employers who are trained and prepared to take those workers. So honestly, we're looking for everybody who might want to work and might want to change their future. Okay, let's see if I press this again, if it will do what I want it to do. Oh, you got it? If I go back, you play it. Approximately a third of all graduating high schoolers have no plan for after they graduate. When we developed this program, we really developed it for those students.
I feel like it's a great opportunity for newcomers like me to learn all the ins and outs of construction.
You can't really do construction through a classroom. You have to actually be hands-on and learn the process through a physical setting.
It's a good feeling letting these students stand on a bridge that's under construction that they can later say, hey, I was right there when it was being built.
The Maine Construction Academy is a program that AGC Maine developed in response to the need for workforce development. We needed to somehow get the trades back into schools in a meaningful way.
We get to kind of view everything. I want to be an architect, but I've been an excavator and now I'm like, that's really cool.
Gives them the opportunity to see what's out there. Maybe they never saw it before, and then they start having conversation. They're like, oh, I didn't know that actually worked that way, or they did it this way. Then it piques their interest. So then it makes me feel good because now what I'm doing is I'm bringing that to them in a way that maybe nobody else has.
I think a lot of people drive by sites like this and just say there's another construction site and don't really understand the work that's being done. And it gives these kids an opportunity to ask questions, see all phases of the project.
I find that my job as a Maine Construction Academy instructor is to really instill my own experiences and my own excitement for the trades and for this type of work onto my students.
The way that they're learning, I think, is really important because there's so many different learning styles, and I think sitting in a classroom really only caters to one of them.
There's a lot of people in the trades who are retiring and moving on with their lives, and not as many people entering as there used to be.
It's always growing, projects are getting bigger and bigger, and more help's needed all the time.
And we're interested in hiring anyone that has any interest in construction. We'll train them. So it's exciting to see these students at the high school level already interested, and we want to spark that interest.
I would tell you to look at your counselors and ask them for opportunities. So that's what I did. I asked my counselors and they gave me the best opportunities, and that's all I got here.
AGC, Maine Construction Academy. Check that out.
There's no way better to understand what we're doing than to hear it from the people who are doing it, right? And you're going to get an opportunity for that today. So really quickly, I'm going to run through the components of the program. We do provide all of the necessary personal protective gear to students. We want to make sure that we're reducing any potential barrier to work in construction. That includes taking the students to a local store and buying them all brand new, correctly fitted boots. We always use a local provider for that. I'm very proud of that fact because we're putting that money back into the local community. And I'm just going to tell you, in a community like Caribou or Holton or some of our more farther flung communities, somebody walking in and buying 20 pairs of work boots from a boot store is a big deal. I didn't really think about that when we started doing this, but we've gotten a lot of letters and sort of thank you notes for that. We do include a barrier assessment by our local state workforce development agencies. Now, this is something that a lot of people don't talk about or think about, but a lot of our students are experiencing extreme poverty, some of them homelessness, many of them have challenges with school or challenges at home. And so we do partner with our local workforce team to assess assess what else a student might need for success, so that when they translate from this program into the workforce, if they need something, there's somebody there to be a career coach during that transition. We provide them with an OSHA 10-hour training, first aid, CPR. NCCER Core is a very basic program that includes construction math, print reading. Kevin can share how challenging construction math can be sometimes. And then we do hand tools, power tools, and some other components. Then they get to go out into the world. This is my favorite part. We try to expose them to whatever is happening in their local community. So not every program is exactly the same. It depends on what's happening for work and what's close by. But earthworks, heavy equipment operation, heavy equipment mechanics, bridge construction, crane operation, welding, paving. Okay, I have to tell you all a story. Has anybody in here ever heard anyone say, when I grow up, I want to be a paver? This is a great joke in a transportation group. So the first year, and this was Brewer, this was at Brewer, I got the surveys back, and all of the students said they wanted to work for Northeast Paving. They said that was their favorite site visit of all of the things they saw. It might have been you, or might have been Holton. I don't remember, but all of the students from that class said that was their favorite visit. So I called Northeast Paving and I said, what did you do to these kids? And what they had done, and this makes sense to me now. They had taken them all the way to the quarry. They showed them the process. They showed them how they made pavement. They showed them how they tested the pavement. They showed them every bit of the process from the very, very beginning, all the way through the plant, all the way through the testing, all the way through the application, right? And then they brought them out to a project and showed them how they applied the material. Now, by doing that, they changed what people saw as a career in paving. And I think that's one of the unique parts of this, is that if all you know about paving is that it holds up traffic in the middle of the summer when it's 90 degrees, that doesn't seem like something you want to do. But when you see all of the background, it changes the way students see things. And so a lot of our other companies, we're working together to make sure students have those kinds of experiences. Carpentry, safety management, concrete, electrical, solar. Guys, we talk to them about money. So they get paid for this program. When they finish this program, they get a check. We pay them $800. So we think it's really important. If I'm going to give a teenager $800, I should talk to them about money. And some of these students have never had this conversation. And then we help prepare them for work. So the final component of the program is a job fair. All of the employers they've met come and interview them. So they're guaranteed that connection. So real quick, we have 18 current apprenticeship crafts. Over half of them are transportation related. Thank you to my stick people for helping us develop that and for the funding that helped us put that together. We now have 33 participating employers. That is a long road from the 3, or really 1, that we had when we started. But now we're going to talk to the guys in the room. This is really fun. So these photos, this is Isabella on her graduation day. And that just might be a crane over there, Black Bear crane. But Kevin, I want to start with you. And I want you to share a little bit about what made you interested in hosting this program to begin with, when nobody knew what I was talking about, because you were one of the first ones to the table.
Thank you. So in the spirit of full disclosure, I am not in the industry. I am not a professional of really anything. I've been an educator my whole professional life. I'm going into my 27th year of teaching. I was a guidance counselor through the Maine state prison system. I started a farm school in Rhode Island before I moved to Maine. I've always been kind of on the outskirts of education. To be honest with you, I'm kind of what I like to term myself an educational terrorist. I don't think that education does a great job of meeting the needs of all the students, and the kids who are very good at school do very well and always get the awards, and the kids that are going to be perfectly well in life sit through time in school and just never make never make the grade. They don't get the accolades, they don't get the awards, they don't. So I've always been kind of looking at the kids who want to go out into the world and work. I was a special education teacher. I ran a resource room. I taught maths, all the high school maths, all the high school sciences, and all the high school Englishes for Brewer High School. This coming year will be my 20th year at Brewer. 3 years ago, we opened up an extended learning opportunities program, which I had been fighting for about 15 years. Those of you who are a little bit older, still younger than me, but older, remember the co-op programs and the shop programs that were in school. Unfortunately, they had all gone by the wayside with this push to get to higher education. And that's what we focused on. The metrics that we judged high schools were all about college prep. Are your kids going to be ready to go to college? And in doing that, I think we really did a huge disservice to a lot of our population by devaluing the work. So I jumped at the opportunity, and at the point in my career, I didn't think they would allow me to switch jobs. Unfortunately for me, probably unfortunately for them, I did move into the ELO realm. Now, extended learning opportunities can be everything. I've placed kids in tattoo apprenticeships. I've placed kids up here at the university working on sports management with the hockey team. But then through conversations and just being out in the world, we heard about what was going on with AGC, and it was just one more opportunity. It was one more tool in the bag for kids, see if we could meet some kids' needs. Never turned anything down. If it wasn't going to work, it wasn't going to work. I'd rather give it a shot and let it not work than just crap on the idea just out of hand. So our first, did that answer? You want me to keep going?
No, you're great. So what Kevin's not telling you is Kevin called us. I already had our list of programs for the first year, and Kevin said, how do I do this? And I said, well, we already picked our programs. And he's like, I'm telling you, if you let me do this, it will work. Well, obviously 3 years later, you're sitting in front of the crowd. So it works. Kevin had a unique group of students. And I think that's an important point, right? This meant something different in Brewer, and I knew that right away. Our other 3 programs in the first year were in the southern part of the state where there were kind of different opportunities. And I noticed immediately a difference in the way they operate. So one of the things I would like you to share with the crowd, Kevin, is what does that look like for your students in terms of their high school career, and how is their high school career different if they are participating in your ELO programs?
You keep giving me questions that I have to answer with background information, but I promise this
It's
will be
okay.
quick. So I am very fortunate to work in the Brewer school system. I have a superintendent who is fearless, crazy, stupid. I don't know which one you really want to attribute to this man, but he doesn't really say no to anything. So our first year, Kelly's right. We contacted them, and as usual, my mouth wrote checks that then I had to follow through with after she gave us the program. So I had to go out and find participants for the program now. And we did, I really attached to our alternative ed population, because that was the group, those were the workers, right? Those were the kids that weren't successful in traditional school, but I know would go out to a job site and work until their tongues dragged on the ground. That's who I wanted for this program. But to go back to our superintendent, so I went to him and said, I really want to do some crazy stuff. And he said, all right, go do it. So he allowed me to seed the program. And I had 2 guinea pigs that year who were rising seniors. They were juniors coming into seniors, and they wanted to go into the trades. That was their goal. They had set it since 9th grade when I first met them. So my superintendent let me set up a remote academic program. So these kids did the AGC program. Senior year, they didn't come into the high school building. They were offered apprenticeships. They had actually numerous to choose from. They chose their apprenticeship, and instead of coming to the high school every day, they went to the job site. And I think they started in St. Albans.
Yep.
was the first one.
Yep.
And they have to have their own transportation. I mean, look, if you're going to work, you got to be an adult. Again, we take the gloves off. This is no longer school. We're not going to do everything. You show up at 5 o'clock in the morning, 6 o'clock in the morning, you're out there in the weather. I don't care. You said you wanted to do this, go do it. But my superintendent allowed me to finish their academic requirements for graduation remotely. So they worked on it at night. It was an asynchronous program where they could do their schoolwork computer-based and get credit for that. I monitored it. I didn't have any problems with these two students. If I had a plan to drag them off the work site and bring them back in the building to catch them up with their schoolwork. They finished their stuff within the first 2 months of school. They finished the whole year's worth of English the first 2 months of school. They wanted to get it done and they were given that opportunity. Both of those students are still working for Wyman and Simpson.
Yeah. It's been 3 years now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, so they're paid as an apprentice. The Department of Labor sets the rate that they get paid. They have retirement, they have health insurance. Their parents, to this day, if I see them in the community, and I often do, still, these were kids that their parents were worried about. What are they going to do after high school? They're probably not going to go to college, you know, Burger King, Walmart, where are they going? What are they going to do? And these kids are moving right along and they send me pictures all the time. And I live in Hamden and I think I have 5 postgraduates now.
You've quite a few.
On a bridge site in Hamden, and I drive by there and I'm driving through construction. Inevitably in the morning on my way to school, my phone will ring and it'll be one of them seeing my Jeep and calling me to say hi. But they're all there and they're on time. Now, do we have 100% success? Absolutely not. Like I can tell you the failures, but we have a lot more successes than failures, and these kids have really stepped up. And one of the things that I kind of live my life by now, my professional life, is my superintendent kept drumming this into me. And I'm an old dog, so I'm kind of hard to learn new tricks. But he keeps going, when a kid tells you what they want, what if they're right? We should listen to them more. And that's what we're doing. And this is why I'm so grateful to Kelly and AGC for allowing us to have this program every year. Because these kids are telling us this is what they need. And weirdly, the behaviors that you see in a traditional school building go away as soon as a kid feels listened to. When they feel heard.
I love looking at the attendance sheets, which I do, and seeing present for 20 days in a row. So for the employers in the room, if I can provide you with an applicant that I can tell you has shown up on time and been present for 20 days in a row without an absence, and who has completed all of the things we've asked them to complete, I always tell them that is a resume builder in and of itself, right? That is a reference in and of itself. So Kevin, the last thing I'm going to ask you to do is to introduce Izzy.
Sure. So this is Isabella Moore, complete full-blown rock star. Up until, I don't even think she ever considered the trades before. No. She was college bound, not knowing really what she was going to do, but college is what you do and you go to college. And she showed up and said, I want to do this. And she did the program, and you're going to tell them what it was like.
So Isabella, I want you to share what your experience was with the program. Like, what made you decide you wanted to do it? What are the things you loved about it? And then I'll keep asking you questions so you can keep telling your story.
Can you guys hear me? Gotta make sure I'm talking. I apologize in advance because I'm not good at public speaking, but so for my first 2 years of high school, absolutely hated. I fell asleep every day probably. I was working at a grocery store before this actually, and eventually I just did not like standing there for 5 hours in the evening watching paint dry on a wall. And then I heard about the construction academy and I'm like, I don't like school. I don't like working at a grocery store. I might as well try this out. And so I applied, and during the construction academy, I learned stuff that I never knew I could learn, I guess. I think it helped a lot with getting that first step into the trades, because I didn't know what to expect, but this academy helped me with my OSHA 10, my CPR training and first aid, helped me a lot with safety, learning about all the safety, and prepping for interviews, because I'm really bad at those. And so it helped me with interviews and resumes. Eventually, I got offered an apprenticeship for NS Giles, and I worked there for my whole senior year, and it was an amazing opportunity. So from what I noticed, going from skipping half of my sophomore year, don't tell my mom I said that, but of high school, to going to a job site every day, perfect attendance, working late nights, like any opportunity I got, I took. So I think the academy really changed that for me, like attendance wise and success wise.
And what does today look like? Now, you've changed jobs since you graduated, since you finished your program. Tell everybody where you're working now and what your days look like now.
So after I graduated, I switched from NS Giles to Sargent to get more into equipment, because I realized heavy equipment's kind of the route I want to go. And so during that transition, Sargent welcomed me with open arms, and I've been working there for, I think, like about 2 months now, and I couldn't have had it any better way. I went through their June Academy, their SCA Academy, and they taught me so much about budgeting and benefits, 401k. I knew nothing really about, but they taught me a lot. They taught me how to prepare for their kind of job sites and their type of work. And so now I'm really on my own in a job site. Well, not on my own, but I'm out there on a job site working full time. Any overtime I can get, I take, but so.
And you told me when we were sitting at the table that you ran into your old crew. Tell me what that's like. I have loved that. I love what you shared, which
So ironically, the job site I'm on now was Sargent. My old crew from Giles got moved to there because they're doing the foundations. And as soon as they saw me, they all ran up to me and gave me hugs and told me it wasn't the same and they want me back. And that they're really glad to be at least on a job site with me. So it's been nice working alongside them while doing what I want to do at the same time.
part of the reason I had you share that is the thing that we're seeing, and Kevin and I were talking about this morning, is we're starting to see construction companies and the way the industry responds to workforce development and growing people change. And we're starting to see companies really crushing sort of the old school idea of what it means to work in construction. And I think, Isabella, your experience is a perfect example of that, as we start to see companies really taking the initiative to hire people, take the time to train them, make them a part of their family. I definitely have seen that with Luke and Aiden, the first two students who went through our program. I attended last year the Wyman and Simpson anniversary party, and they were right there with their whole crew, proud as could be. And it's really rewarding to see these students who were really otherwise kind of lost, right? And I want to just highlight something Kevin said. There is nothing about this program that is anti-college. It really was designed for that 30% of students that no matter what anyone said to them, were not going to college. And we all know those students exist. We're just trying to catch them before they get lost, right?
Add something to that.
Yeah.
Because it is a very good point. And I apologize if I came across as so this year in the program, we had a young man. He's actually number 2 in his class. He's going to be, he'll either be the valedictorian next year at graduation or the salutatorian. His plan is to come here to UMaine and to study engineering. And he came to me and I kind of looked at him and said, really, you want to do this? And again, a good case of out of the mouths of babes. He said, well, I want to be an engineer, but I'd like some experience on what happens on the ground. I said, yeah, you're in. So it's not not trying to poach in the big pond of secondary, post-secondary education. But it's valuable even for those kids that are going on to see what happens out there.
It's like I said, we're showing them what happens behind the fence, right? And there's no other way to see that other than someone bringing you there and walking you through that project. So we are running up against our question time. I think it says in here that at 10:15, we're supposed to stop talking. So I'm trying to follow directions. Not always good at that when you put me in front of a microphone. But I'm gonna ask you, both of you, to share one last nugget before we open up the floor to questions. Of just sort of close out your thoughts on your experience with the program. Isabella, maybe share something exciting that you've learned or something that's surprised you that's changed over your time. So Kevin, I'll start with you and then Isabella.
This program has turned out to be an awesome opportunity. I've watched, and I'm careful about saying this, but I've watched the ability of the students over the 3 years that come through. Initially, it was the kids who really struggled academically, did a good job, but they're workers. Now I'm starting to get the kids where I'm starting to look at them and go, oh, someday you're going to be running projects. Like we're removing that stigma of the trades. And I think it's unfair to begin with, but I think we've pushed away from it for so long, and the kids, really talented, intellectually solid kids, are starting to look at the trades as a viable option. And it's really cool to watch that transgression.
I agree with that completely. All right, Isabella.
Something that I've learned probably would be hard work really does pay off. I never thought that at 18 I would be living in my first apartment and have like the income I have now. And the more effort I put into work and the more opportunities I took, the more I got comfortable with life, and took a vacation in January and just booked one for December. So yeah, I would say hard work really does pay off, and opportunities take all of them.
That's awesome. I'm so proud of you. I just want to close by saying I'm proud of you, Kevin, for hanging in there with us while we figured out how things work. And Isabella, congratulations on the choices that you've made for yourself. It's really exciting to see.